Be still. There is something you must understand now, something that will change how you see everything you've been through. I am Archangel Michael, and I come with clarity, not fear. You were not attacked because you are weak. You were not challenged because you are vulnerable. You were not pressured because you are losing. You were targeted because you are chosen. Opposition does not waste effort on lives that carry no significance. Pressure does not form around destinies that lead nowhere. Resistance does not rise against people who are standing still. The battle formed around you because your path mattered. And that truth alone is difficult to accept, because you spent so long questioning yourself. You wondered why things felt heavier for you than for others, why progress felt delayed, why relationships felt complicated, why peace felt like something you had to fight to keep. You told yourself you were overthinking, too sensitive, too different, too intense. But listen carefully now. The pressure you felt was not punishment, it was recognition. Darkness recognizes light before the world does. Opposition recognizes potential before you do. That is why the resistance began early. That is why discouragement tried to root itself deep. That is why doubt came in waves. Because if you ever fully recognized who you were becoming, you would stop settling immediately. So the strategy was never to destroy you. It was to convince you to doubt yourself long enough that you would abandon your own path. But you didn't. Even when you questioned, even when you felt tired, even when you felt unsure, you continued. That alone changed the outcome. You survived confusion that would have broken others. You endured emotional weight that would have closed hearts. You stayed standing through seasons meant to make you fold, not because you were perfect, but because something inside you refused to disappear. That resilience was never accidental. It is part of your design, and now the reason I speak to you is because something has shifted. You are no longer in the phase of endurance. You are entering the phase of recognition. You are beginning to notice your own discernment, your own boundaries, your own intuition. You are no longer trying to be accepted everywhere. You are starting to choose where you belong. That is power. You are no longer asking for permission to exist. You are moving with quiet authority. And that is why the pressure feels different now. Not gone, but weaker. Not absent, but ineffective. Because awareness changes everything. You can no longer be manipulated the way you once were. You can no longer be pulled into emotional confusion that once controlled you. You can no longer be convinced that peace must be earned through suffering. You have crossed a line internally that cannot be uncrossed. You have begun to see clearly. And clarity is the enemy of deception. This is why the season ahead will feel unfamiliar, not chaotic, not dramatic, but steady. You will notice that things align without you forcing them. You will notice that certain people fall away naturally. You will notice that new connections feel calm instead of intense. That is not coincidence, that is calibration. You are no longer being shaped by struggle. You are being guided by alignment. And what comes next will not demand you to prove yourself. It will meet you where you already stand. Because you are no longer trying to become chosen. You always were. You are only now beginning to realize it. Stay aware, stay grounded, stay steady. The season of survival is ending. The season of purpose is unfolding, and you are exactly where you were always meant to be. The resistance was proof, not punishment. There is a truth you were never taught because it would have made you too strong too early. The resistance you faced was never evidence of failure. It was confirmation. When pressure rises around a life, it is rarely because that life is small. Pressure forms around impact. Storms gather around movement. Resistance increases around purpose. I am Archangel Michael, and I tell you now with clarity, nothing tried to oppose you without reason. You were not overlooked. You were not ignored. You were not invisible. You were observed. Every time you began to grow, something attempted to interrupt. Every time you became aware, confusion attempted to enter. Every time you stepped forward, doubt attempted to slow you. That was not coincidence. That was recognition. You felt it in moments when life suddenly became heavier without explanation. You felt it when progress felt delayed just as you were gaining momentum. You felt it when your peace was disturbed for no visible reason, and you blamed yourself. You assumed something was wrong with you, that you were falling behind, that you were misaligned. But hear this now. If there were no value in your path, there would have been no effort to disrupt it. No one interferes with a future that does not matter. No opposition forms around a destiny that leads nowhere. No pressure follows a life that carries no influence. You were not being punished. You were being noticed. And the strategy was never destruction. It was distraction. If your attention could be turned inward toward self-doubt, you would forget to look forward. If your energy could be exhausted through emotional confusion, you would lack the strength to move. If your confidence could be shaken just enough, you would remain where you were out of uncertainty. And for a while, it worked. You questioned yourself. You delayed decisions. You overthought opportunities. You doubted instincts that were actually guiding you. But something inside you never fully agreed. Even when you were unsure, you continued. Even when you were tired, you kept going. Even when you felt disconnected, you did not disappear. That is not weakness. That is design. Some spirits are built to bend but not break. Some paths are built to delay but not dissolve. Some people are built to survive what others could not. You are one of them. And now something important is happening. The same pressure that once confused you is losing its effect. The same thoughts that once controlled you no longer feel believable. The same cycles that once repeated no longer hold power. That is not because the world changed. That is because you did. Awareness breaks patterns. Clarity dissolves manipulation. Stability weakens interference. You are no longer in the phase where opposition controls the atmosphere around you. You are entering the phase where awareness controls the atmosphere within you. And that shift changes everything. Because what you can see clearly can no longer control you. What you understand can no longer confuse you. What you recognize can no longer manipulate you. This is why the next phase will feel different. Not loud, not dramatic, not chaotic, but precise, intentional, clear. You are no longer being shaped by resistance. You are being guided by awareness. Be still now. The battle is no longer external. It is no longer loud. It is no longer chaotic. What is happening now is far more important. You are realigning. There was a time when everything felt like effort. Every decision required emotional labor. Every relationship felt like negotiation. Every step forward felt uncertain. That was survival. Survival is exhausting because it demands constant vigilance. But you are not there anymore. You have crossed into a quieter phase, a deeper phase, a more powerful phase, the phase of alignment. Alignment does not feel dramatic. It feels calm. It does not feel urgent. It feels intentional. It does not feel chaotic. It feels clear. This is why the season you are in may feel unfamiliar. You are no longer chasing clarity. You are recognizing it. You are no longer fighting for peace. You are protecting it. You are no longer proving your worth. You are standing in it. This is a significant shift because when you were in survival, your energy was spent reacting. Now, your energy is being spent directing. You are noticing patterns sooner. You are sensing misalignment earlier. You are choosing differently than you once did, not because you are harder, but because you are clearer. You no longer need loud lessons. You no longer need painful cycles. You no longer need repetition to understand. You see now, and seeing changes everything. The people who once confused you will now feel obvious. The situations that once drained you will now feel distant. The decisions that once paralyzed you will now feel simpler. That is not coincidence. That is growth becoming operational. This is why you may feel detached lately, less reactive, less emotionally tangled, more observant. That is not disconnection. That is authority returning. You are no longer lost inside your emotions. You are aware of them. You are no longer overwhelmed by uncertainty. You are curious instead of anxious. You are no longer trying to force movement. You are allowing alignment. And this is where destiny becomes precise. Because when you are aligned internally, the external world responds naturally. What is meant for you will no longer feel like effort. What is not meant for you will no longer hold your attention. Doors will begin to open without pressure. Connections will begin to form without confusion. Opportunities will begin to appear without urgency. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer misaligned. You are no longer walking against yourself. You are walking with clarity, and clarity is protection. This is why the season ahead will not feel like struggle. It will feel like momentum without chaos, movement without anxiety, progress without exhaustion. You are no longer surviving what life throws at you. You are shaping how you move through it. And that is the difference between being guided and being led by circumstance. Stay steady here. Do not rush this phase. Do not look for drama to confirm progress. Growth does not need noise. Alignment does not need urgency. Destiny does not need force. The doors that open without resistance remain present, because what begins now will not announce itself with noise. You are entering the phase where destiny does not need to be forced. It simply opens. I am Archangel Michael, and I need you to understand this clearly. The doors meant for you do not require struggle. They do not demand exhaustion. They do not pressure you into urgency. They do not confuse your spirit. They open when alignment meets timing, and you are now standing in that intersection. This is why things feel slower but clearer, why life feels quieter but more intentional, why your heart feels steadier even though the future is still unfolding. You are no longer being dragged forward by circumstances. You are being led forward by discernment. There is a difference. When you were in survival, you chased every opportunity out of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of falling behind, fear of losing momentum. But now, you are no longer afraid of waiting. You are no longer afraid of pauses. You are no longer afraid of stillness. Because stillness no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like control returning to you. And here is how you will recognize what is truly aligned. Aligned doors feel calm before they open. They do not provoke anxiety. They do not demand overthinking. They do not require justification. You will not feel the need to convince yourself. You will not feel the need to explain them to others. You will simply recognize them with a quiet certainty. Misaligned doors, however, still exist, not as threats, but as tests of discernment. They will appear attractive on the surface. They will promise speed, validation, attention, but beneath them, your spirit will feel unsettled. That subtle discomfort you now feel is not fear, it is intelligence. You did not always have this. Before, you overrode your inner signals to keep things working. You ignored discomfort to maintain peace with others. You doubted your intuition in favor of logic, approval, familiarity. But now you listen. And because you listen, you will not walk into cycles again. This is not because the world changed, it is because you did. You are no longer trying to be chosen. You are no longer trying to be validated. You are no longer trying to be seen. You are choosing. You are validating yourself. You are seeing clearly. And this is where power truly begins. Soon you will notice. Conversations shift naturally. Opportunities appear without force. People enter your life who do not drain you. Not intensely, not dramatically, but consistently. These are not coincidences. These are calibrations. Life is adjusting to the version of you who no longer operates from survival. And because of this, you must understand one more thing. Peace does not mean nothing is happening. Peace means everything is happening without resistance. A seed grows in silence, roots deepen in darkness, stability forms without attention. So do not doubt this quiet season. Do not interrupt it with urgency. Do not replace it with noise. You are not stuck. You are stabilizing. You are not delayed. You are aligning. You are not waiting, you are being positioned. And positioning is always subtle before it becomes visible. The shift becomes visible. Now observe carefully, not with urgency, not with anticipation, but with awareness. Because what you have felt internally is now beginning to appear externally. This is the moment when alignment becomes evidence. I am Archangel Michael, and I speak to you at the threshold of visible change. You are no longer preparing. You are no longer stabilizing. You are no longer recalibrating. You are entering manifestation. But understand this first. Manifestation does not arrive with chaos. It does not explode with drama. It does not overwhelm you with intensity. It arrives naturally. It feels like life responding to you instead of testing you. This is how you will recognize it. You will begin to notice that things move without resistance. People will meet you with openness instead of friction. Conversations will flow instead of draining you. Opportunities will present themselves without you having to force timing. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped moving against yourself. What is meant for you does not struggle to reach you. It responds to clarity. You may notice that some things resolve themselves without your involvement. Issues that once required emotional labor will simply fade. Situations that once felt complicated will become straightforward. Not because everything becomes easy, but because you are no longer misaligned. And this is the most important change. You will no longer feel desperate for confirmation. You will no longer scan for signs. You will no longer analyze every detail, because certainty will be present without effort. Peace will accompany decisions. Calm will accompany movement. Clarity will accompany change. This is the evidence. Not excitement, not adrenaline, not urgency, but stability. You are entering a phase where your nervous system is no longer in defense, where your mind is no longer bracing for impact, where your spirit is no longer expecting disruption. This is what it feels like when protection, awareness, and alignment work together. You are no longer reacting to life. You are participating in it. You are no longer trying to escape outcomes. You are allowing outcomes to unfold. You are no longer moving from fear of repetition. You are moving from trust in clarity. And because of this, what unfolds next will not resemble your past. Not in relationships, not in choices, not in direction, not in emotional experience. The cycle is not repeating. The pattern is complete. You are not walking into another lesson. You are walking into a new structure, one built on awareness, discernment, boundaries, and stability. And this is why things will now grow slowly, but last deeply. You will no longer burn quickly. You will no longer attach prematurely. You will no longer collapse under pressure, because the version of you who enters this phase is no longer unsteady. You are grounded. You are aware. You are aligned. This is not an ending. This is not a climax. This is not a dramatic turning point. This is something more powerful. This is integration. You are no longer trying to become. You are now being. Being clear, being grounded, being intentional, being present, being selective, being at peace. And life will respond to that version of you with stability instead of struggle. This is the completion of the cycle you walked through. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything is no longer misaligned. Remain steady here. There is nothing to chase, nothing to force, nothing to defend. Only to continue living with the awareness you have gained. This is how destiny unfolds when the work is complete, quietly, naturally, and without resistance. You are no longer becoming ready. You are already here. And nothing about this season will need to convince you. You will simply know.